many of the conservatives feel this way secretly about Donald Trump. Why not just take the hit for 4 years, let him lose, and then get your party back? Why do we keep defending this person that everyone clearly doesn't respect?
And most Republicans don't think they could survive 4 more years of Kamala Harris as a country.
In what way?
Open borders, 6 million people coming across the border. We did have high inflation, horrible foreign policy, wars across the globe that didn't happen while Trump was president. There was the reshoring of manufacturing.
I'm not going to let you do that.
I mean, I could sit there and do the whole.
I could do the whole thing too, but we're not going to do that.
Or is it that, or is it just about raw political power?
I love how she cut him off. I love watching Ryan Girdusky's star rise. I'm not surprised in the least that I'm about 100% sure he's going to get fired from being on these CNN panels if he keeps abusing all these crazy libs the way he's been. Joining me now, my friend Ryan Girdusky, founder of the 1776 Project PAC, of which I am a fan. Ryan, you know you're going to get canned from there, right? You keep abusing these dirty libs on there, they're not going to invite you back.
We'll see if they if they don't bring me back on, because a bunch of conservatives really loved my segment. So we'll see. I mean, listen, I told CNN when they asked me to start coming on, I said, listen, if you're looking for the Republican who apologizes for being a Republican, it ain't me. And they said, we're not looking for that. So they knew what they were getting. And I think I've done a pretty good job. It's definitely, every segment I've done has had interest because, the conflict makes people want to watch. And it's not the same thing every time.
Yeah, no, it's very well. You're made for it. You do really well. Do you get the sense in that room and in the green room, and I know you've been in these places, do you get the sense they are confident about where they are, or do you get the sense that they have this feeling of dread and they're compensating?
About Kamala specifically?
Mm-hmm. Kamala.
Well, some of them are extremely confident that Kamala would win. In a different episode that I was on, one guy he'd ridden off Arizona, but he was like, no, we're surging in the Rust Belt. We're going to be fine. She's going to win. Election Day party in D.C. And you just like, okay, other ones, they're more, it's a tight election. There is a little bit of anxiety. Definitely Trump has had a lot of momentum in the last week. So it just depends on the person. I think that a bunch of them are very, very nervous, and I think the attacks against Trump are becoming so extreme because they are nervous.
One thing I have found fascinating is Democrats and their focus on Michigan and how they try to focus on Michigan. They're very concerned about losing Jewish voters. They're very concerned about losing Jewish donations, which they are massive in politics for sure, especially in the Democrat Party. They're concerned about losing Muslim votes. It's this weird religious thing, and actually this was on CNN as well.
I've been talking to people in the business sector in the Arab American community, and I was really surprised this week to get an earful to hear them say that they would much rather either vote a third party, not vote at all, or vote for Donald Trump. And I'm telling you, it's not obviously a significant sample size, but I cannot find one Arab American within my social circle in business or personally who have said that they will vote for Kamala Harris.
Okay, Ryan, you want to explain that to me? I've seen the tightrope Democrats have tried to walk with the whole Israel-Hamas thing, but man, what happened here?
Oh, you could feel the air being sucked out of the room when she said that. It was something else. I think that for a lot of, there's a lot of Muslim business owners, especially small business owners. And Tiffany Trump's father-in-law, I did not know this, is a Lebanese businessman who apparently is doing a lot of work to promote Trump among Muslim business owners. I was unaware until that reporting. The other thing is that I think there is no confidence among Muslim Americans that Kamala Harris will end the war in Israel. And whether, their feelings on Palestine are very mixed, their feelings on Iran are mixed. It's not a universal opinion, but there is an overwhelming demand to stop the attacks and the killings among civilians. Now, obviously, on the Jewish side, there's a demand to sit there and release the hostages. I understand it, but they think that Trump could end the war and Kamala can't. And there's also, and I mentioned this in that segment, some Muslims are playing for the long term. If Kamala loses, right, and she loses specifically because of Muslims in Michigan, there is going to be a change in the Democratic Party in how they approach Israel in the future because of our immigration rates and because of the way we do immigration. There will be more Muslims than there are Jews in America in a very, very near future. And that means that in the raw votes, they will have to make a judgment, which side are we on? And especially on these issues around Israel, that will absolutely sit there and change the way Democratic politics work in the near future. Will change, any chance Josh Shapiro has of being a Democratic nominee in the future. That all absolutely plays into the future of Democratic politics. Not to mention, by the way, one other small subset is the woke stuff in schools really doesn't play well with Muslims, really have a problem with it. There's been a number of Muslim parents in school boards who were like, we do not want this stuff in our schools. They don't even want sex education in their schools. So the woke liberal of importance or of victimhood, they did not assume that Muslims would not be on board with the LGBTQAI2A+ community. So shocker. I know, but they're really being surprised that everyone doesn't just love each other constantly.
What a shock. I thought they would sign on for all that. Okay, so I didn't know we were going to travel down this path, but I find it fascinating. So what do they do with the fact they do need and rest not largely on, but it is a huge part of political donations for Democrats, Jewish donors. Jewish donors are oftentimes, many of the mega donors on the Democrat side are people who are Jewish, and they're not going to sign on for the Arab Party, the Hamas Party. I know this is a concern. Where do they go?
I think there's two things. I've met Jewish donors who were lifelong Democrats who after October 7th said to me, look, we made all the wrong friends. We played the wrong hand. There was a very, very strong movement, I would say, or strong thought process among liberal Jews that their real enemy were white Christians, that white Christians were the ones that they had to live in fear of white Christians. And some of them doubled down after October 7th, and some of them saw the light. And then there are other just liberal Jews who just don't care about Israel. They're just liberals. They're liberal Americans. It means nothing to them. And then there's also some. I had a conversation with one of my friends who's a celebrity, and he's very close friends with a major Jewish celebrity who called him and said, said to him, and I'm not going to name names, but said to him, I'm worried. Like, why do they hate me so much? What is going? Well, I thought that I was on their side. And I think there is a ironically a come to Jesus moment among Jews, but a come to Jesus moment where a lot of them are sitting there and saying, maybe we did make the wrong friends. Maybe this anti-Semitism stuff is real and it's palpable. And there was a certain thinking among liberal Jews, and by the way, it's among liberal white people as well, where they were not culpable in the Great Awakening, that it would never come to them, that this was about white conservatives. They were the problem. And a lot of these race activists are looking around and saying, no, we view you as white as well, and you are just as much of the problem. And Israel is a colonizer state, and all the nonsense and BS and lies you hear about America are being extended to Jews, being extended to Israel. And quite a number of them are sitting there and saying, wow, we've really bet on the wrong horse for a long time, and things need to change, and they need to change very, very fast. And I said to one of them, October 7th was horrifying to see what we saw in Israel. October 8th in America made me sick to my stomach. Seeing people celebrate it in the United States made me sick beyond belief. But that is what we have imported through our immigration system, and that is what we have trained children to learn through our education system. And a number of them have sat there and said enough is enough. They've started pulling their donations out from universities, but I guarantee you the Democratic Party is not that far away, especially if they double down and say we need to win the Muslim vote at any any opportunity we have, the same way they did with Latinos by pandering and saying that immigration was the only answer. And now we're seeing a record-breaking number of Latinos saying, close the border, start deporting illegal immigrants. Like, stuff needs to get done because people aren't two-dimensional figures in cartoons the way that, white libs think they are. They have a lot of opinions about a lot of different issues.
Ryan, let's shift the focus away from this and the presidential race because the down ballot races are critical, not just local, which you and I talk about often, but House, Senate. It's the least sexy thing in the world. Everyone wants to talk about Trump. Everyone wants to talk about Kamala right now. But Trump gets in there with a Democrat House, a Democrat Senate, can do very little, frankly. Where are we at on that?
Well, in the Senate, it looks almost certain that Republicans will have 51 Senate seats at least because West Virginia is going to flip, and so is Montana. And as long as Ted Cruz can hold on, and as long as Fisher can hold on in Nebraska, which they probably both will, then the Senate will be Republican at least with 51 seats. And then you add the Ohio race and maybe a win in the Michigan or Wisconsin seat, and then you have 52 or 53. The House is much tougher. Whoever wins the majority in the in the presidency will win the House. The House is difficult because the majority of the House runs through blue states. You need Mike Garcia in California. You need Mike Lawler in New York. You need to hopefully win the House seat in Connecticut's 5th congressional district out in northwest Connecticut. Those seats, the Illinois seat that they may flip this year, those seats are what's going to take the House from keep the House Republican or maybe make gains. You can't just sit there and win enough seats in the red states because most of them are all picked. It's just a handful left. It is the purple seats in blue states that will decide the House's future.
Ryan, is there going to be a red wave?
I don't know. Things are looking good for Trump right now in Nevada and Arizona. Certainly participation among low propensity voters is very high. I don't know about that information from Pennsylvania. And Georgia and Michigan and Wisconsin don't give out voter data by party because they don't register people by party. I will say the very interesting thing that I just read about in Georgia, 45% of new Georgia voters are over the age of 50. I think that people think of elections and states that they're stagnant. So 10,000 one way, 10,000 the other way. Obviously, there are people who are new citizens. There are people who turn 18. There are people who die. But the post-COVID migration that happened, I think is so substantial in some states, it will definitely see a big, big change. So the answer is I don't know. There are certainly good trend signs for Republicans. Is it going to amount to a red wave? We have to wait till November to see.
Don't do that. I need concrete information now. I'm an antsy voter, Ryan.
I just gave
Thank you, brother. Thank you, my brother. We'll talk soon. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.